it's not hard to do. Just shake, 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 shake. You want to bet all night long. What you do? Everyone do the butt all night long. I was doing the butt last night. I was talking last night. But I didn't see
you. The clock read 9:37 p.m. when the 911 dispatcher picked up a call from Cheney Drive in Garner, North Carolina. On the other end of the line was a man who sounded strangely calm. His name was Christopher Pugh. The dispatcher asked what the emergency was. Christopher didn't answer the question directly. Instead, he insisted that everything was fine. His tone was steady, almost rehearsed. But then, in the background, something broke through. A woman's voice, frantic, shaking, terrified. "Please, help me!" The dispatcher froze for a moment, listening harder. There it was again. Muffled cries, heavy footsteps, and then silence. That woman's voice belonged to 54-year-old Teresa Adams Pugh, Christopher's wife. And what was happening inside that quiet suburban home was a nightmare unraveling in real time. Within minutes, officers were speeding toward Cheney Drive, but as the first patrol car rolled up to the house, a deafening gunshot ripped through the night air. Neighbors came to their windows. The flashing lights painted the street red and blue. Inside, the screams stopped. When police finally breached the home, they found two bodies, a husband and a wife lifeless on the floor, a family shattered, a community stunned. The news spread quickly. Christopher Pugh had murdered his wife Teresa and then turned the gun on himself. But here's the question no one could stop asking. Why, this wasn't some troubled couple on the verge of divorce. On the outside, Christopher and Teresa looked inseparable. They shared smiles on Facebook, posted pictures of vacations, holidays, and family gatherings. Everyone thought they were living the dream of late-blooming love. So what could possibly push two people so deeply in love into a tragedy so violent and final? The answer lay in a secret, a revelation so shocking, so devastating, that it destroyed everything they had built together. And it was a truth Teresa carried with her to the grave. If this story already has your heart racing and your mind asking questions, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything, and it helps us keep bringing you powerful true crime stories that matter. Don't miss the twists, the heartbreak, and the shocking truths that we uncover every week. Teresa Adams Pugh was born and raised in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. She was known to family and friends as the kind of woman who carried both fire and tenderness in her heart.
Hey y'all, so I just pulled up at the electrolysis. So if you see some hair, your girl about to go take care of it. But I wanted to come on and do a PSA. This is going to be quick. And this is for 50, I'm going to say from 50 all the way to 100. Your age does not guarantee you respect, loyalty, all these things. I feel like a lot of times when people get older, you automatically expect to be able to talk trash to people. They don't say nothing back to you. You expect to be able to disrespect people. They don't say anything back to you. Let me tell you this. I got to go in here right quick, but I just want to say, when you get a certain age as the matriarch or, whatever of your family, I'm talking to you men too, not just the women, you cannot stay in a bunch of mess all the time. You cannot disrespect people. You cannot be the author of confusion and expect people to, just because of your age, treat you like you're up on a pedestal. Oftentimes, younger people, let me look at the time because I got to be here in a few minutes. Oftentimes, younger people will mimic what they see you do because of your age. And if you're around here raising hell, cussing people out, ready to fight people at the drop of a dime, don't expect, because of your age, for them to hold you with the utmost respect. What are you showing people? What about your life is on display for other people to see? That's the question that we 50-year plus people need to be asking ourselves. How are we showing up to the world? How are we showing up to our children, our grandchildren? A lot of y'all got grandchildren and you run around here act like your grandchildren, worse than them. How are we showing up to our younger people, our young adults that are looking for guidance, that are looking for respect, that are looking for all these things? What are we doing? What are we showing up? How are we showing up? That's something we need to ask ourselves on a daily basis. We need to sit back and peel back the layers. Your age does not give you permission to be the author of confusion. Your age does not give you permission to ruin people's lives and think that there's no kickback from it. There's no kickback. People get tired. People get tired of your ish, okay? People get tired of your ish. And because you're 65, 70, 55, that don't mean that they got to overlook you and your stuff. It doesn't. You know, all my life I heard people say, oh, you know, that's just how they are. That's just what they do. And I don't pay them no attention. No, time out for that. Time out for that, because respect go both ways. Respect go both ways, baby. Let me tell you something. Y'all old people need to stop your shit. I'm going to say it. Need to stop your shit. Get in line and get in order so that the younger people will have something to look forward to, a canvas. No, it ain't going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. But you can't run around here raising hell all the time, starting trouble and confusion. If you are in a mess all the time, trust me, it's not other people. It's not. If there is always confusion falling on your doorstep, and it is always something, people, it's always something, check yourself. Don't try to check nobody else, boo. Check you. And I'm talking to the women and the men, because we all need to look at ourselves. What are you giving off? And somebody always raising hell with you, why? Why? If you always into an argument, why? If somebody's always disrespecting you, why? Why? Your old folk need to get the old age. Don't think just because your age that you can just run around here and raise hell and wreak havoc on everybody that you come in contact with and say, oh, they disrespectful. Oh, they didn't, you know, I'm not messing with them no more. Oh, this, and then you can't nobody tell you nothing. Can't nobody tell you nothing. Let me tell you something. Somebody can always tell you something. You ain't perfect. You're not perfect. Girl, I gotta go in here and just let y'all this. But that girl, guy, whoever, this message for everybody. You're not perfect, baby. Stop thinking you are. And if somebody yank your chain, listen to what they saying, because everybody ain't wrong. Get your shit together and stop being an author of confusion. How about that? Okay?
A woman who loved to laugh, who loved to gather people.
We got Spider-Man in the house. Spider-Man's in the house. We're having a great family day today. A great family. I got my own channel, girl. It is Teresa Renee on YouTube. Check me out.
And who seemed to shine brightest when surrounded by her children and grandchildren. She had 4 children of her own and 15 grandchildren who adored her. And despite the challenges of life, she carried herself with a strength that inspired everyone around her. She was not wealthy, she was not famous, but she was rich in something far greater, in love, in loyalty, in resilience. She had attended Wake Technical Community College at the Northern Wake campus and pushed herself to grow, even when life knocked her down. In 2020, tragedy struck her family when she lost her son, Adrian Adams. It was a wound that never truly healed, the kind of loss that shatters a mother's spirit. Yet somehow Teresa fought her way through the grief. She leaned on faith, on family, and on sheer willpower. Those who knew her said she cried at night but smiled in the morning. Determined not to let sorrow break the light she carried, it was this strength, this inner fire, that later drew Christopher Pugh to her. Christopher himself had a story. At 53 years old, he was the CEO of Pugh's Builder GC Academy in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was an engineer and home builder with ambition and discipline, but he was also a man with a troubled past. He had struggled with mistakes, with setbacks, and with the heavy weight of trying to rebuild a reputation. Yet when he met Teresa, something changed. Together they formed an unlikely pair. She carried warmth and laughter. He carried focus and stability. Their bond was intense and quick, and soon they fell deeply in love. In time, they married in a ceremony that their families celebrated as a second chance at happiness. They posted photos on Facebook, smiling side by side, celebrating birthdays, holidays, vacations, and dinners. They gave the world the image of a couple who had beaten the odds. Two people who had found true love later in life. Friends described them as inseparable. Their house in Johnston County became a hub for family gatherings. Their social media showed matching outfits, holding hands, laughing in selfies. To everyone watching from the outside, it looked like a perfect life. Yet behind those smiles, behind those carefully posed photos, something darker was quietly growing, something unspoken, something that would one day explode in the most violent and heartbreaking way, because what no one knew was that Teresa carried a truth so heavy that it would ultimately destroy not only their marriage, but both of their lives. When Teresa first met Christopher, it did not feel like the kind of meeting that would change the course of her life. Yet there was something in his eyes, a mixture of confidence and weariness, the look of a man who had seen storms but was still standing. Christopher had built himself into an engineer and a home builder, the CEO of Pugh's Builder GC Academy in Raleigh. But behind the titles and the hard work, there was a man searching for stability, for warmth, for the kind of love that could steady him. And in Teresa, he found it. She was vibrant, outgoing, quick to laugh. She carried her scars openly and somehow made them beautiful. She had lost a son, but she did not lose her ability to love. She had been broken before, but she did not stay broken. And that resilience, that warmth, drew Christopher in like a flame. Their romance was not the slow, quiet kind. It was the consuming kind, the kind that makes people around them believe in second chances. Soon they were inseparable, attending family cookouts, Sunday dinners, community events, always hand in hand, their social media pages filled with photos of trips, smiles, matching outfits, and moments that looked like pure happiness. Friends described them as glowing, as if love had given them both a new life. Christopher spoke proudly of Teresa, saying she was his anchor, and Teresa spoke of him as her protector, the man who made her feel safe after years of pain. They married in a ceremony that blended both families, 4 children and 15 grandchildren welcoming Christopher into the fold. The home they shared in Johnston County became more than a house. It was a gathering place, alive with laughter, filled with pictures on the walls and meals at the table. For outsiders, it looked like a perfect love story, a testimony that no matter how much loss or failure life brings, true love could still be found. Yet beneath the surface, there were cracks that no one else could see. Small arguments that ended too quickly, moments of tension hidden behind carefully staged smiles. Christopher wanted control and Teresa wanted freedom. Their personalities clashed quietly, but no one imagined it could lead to tragedy, because love was still the picture they painted, love was still the story they told, until the night when one shocking truth changed everything, turning that picture of love into a nightmare of betrayal and bloodshed. March 22nd, 2025 began like any other Saturday in Johnston County. The sun dipped slowly behind the trees. The neighborhood of Cheney Drive was quiet. Children played outside. A dog barked in the distance. Nothing seemed unusual, but inside the Pugh household a storm was gathering. Teresa and Christopher had been arguing. The walls of the house carried the weight of their words, sharp, fast, desperate. Neighbors later said they never heard anything, but behind closed doors, voices rose and emotions clashed. At some point, Teresa felt fear. Real fear, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your instincts scream. She reached for her phone and dialed 911, her hands shaking as the call connected. On the line, she whispered for help, her words frantic. But then she quickly hung up, as if caught or second-guessing the danger she was in. Dispatchers immediately called back. This time Christopher answered, his voice calm, almost too calm. He insisted everything was fine. No problems here, nothing to worry about. But in the background, the truth bled through. Muffled sobs, a woman's voice trembling. "Please, help me!" The dispatcher heard it clearly. Those words were a silent alarm, a plea that could not be ignored. Within minutes, sirens wailed across Garner. Patrol cars cut through the night, racing toward the Pugh home. Inside the house, tension boiled over. Teresa cried. Christopher paced, anger heavy in his breathing. The silence between words more terrifying than the shouting, as the first police unit pulled up outside. A single gunshot cracked through the night. Loud, violent, final. Neighbors rushed to their windows, curtains pulled back, porch lights flicked on. Blue and red lights painted the street as officers shouted commands into the dark. They called Christopher's name. They begged him to come out. Negotiators tried to reach him. Minutes dragged like hours, but inside the house there was only silence. Then another gunshot. Officers stormed in, weapons drawn. The scene that met them was haunting. On the floor lay Teresa Adams Pugh. Motionless, lifeless, beside her Christopher, his weapon nearby, both of them gone. 2 bodies, 1 home, a love story destroyed in an instant. Outside officers lowered their heads, radios crackled with grim confirmation. The nightmare was over, but the questions had only just begun. How did it come to this? How did a couple so deeply in love end their story in blood? The answer, as investigators would soon uncover, lay in a truth that Christopher could not bear to face, a revelation that turned passion into paranoia, and love into death. The aftermath was chaos and disbelief. Neighbors poured out of their homes. Sirens echoed in the distance. The once peaceful street became a crime scene. Yellow tape cordoned off the yard where laughter used to echo. Friends and relatives rushed to the house only to be met with the horrific truth. The couple everyone admired was gone. Their love story ended in a pool of blood. Police officers moved in and out of the home, taking pictures, marking evidence, and collecting fragments of a life that had unraveled in one fatal night. Reporters began arriving, cameras flashing. The community stood in silence. No one could understand how 2 people so deeply in love could destroy each other. Mothers held their children tighter. Whispers filled the air about what could have been so shocking to drive them to murder. The town's church bell rang, but instead of joy or worship, it tolled in mourning. The funeral came days later. Families sat apart, grief mixed with shame. Unanswered questions lingered in every tear that fell. Psychologists were brought in to explain, but no explanation could soften the heartbreak. Investigators released fragments of the truth, but the real shock lived in the silence of the grave. The couple's names etched side by side on cold stone, yet their legacy was forever scarred. What began as a love story ended as a tragedy that haunted everyone who knew them, and for those who heard it later, it became a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest love can hide the darkest secrets. Love can build kingdoms, and it can also burn them to the ground. What happened between these 2 lovers was more than a crime. It was a warning, a reminder that secrets have power, and when hidden too long, they can destroy even the strongest of bonds. Tonight, you've seen how passion turned to pain, how trust turned to betrayal, and how love ended in death. Stories like this remind us that truth, no matter how painful, must be faced before it festers into tragedy. If you found yourself moved by this story and want to continue uncovering the untold truths behind shocking crimes, make sure you subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real stories to light and together. We can continue asking the difficult questions that others are too afraid to ask.